has generated hundreds of millions of dollars of revenue for the state of Washington that goes into the general fund for education, for health care, for social services, also goes into the Department of Transportation for transportation projects. Those dollars are coming off of the investments that we make in federal government securities that are guaranteed. So they are safe, they are liquid. I can sell them tomorrow. I can sell them this afternoon yet. They are safe, they are liquid, and they're there to be spent. But they do give us a return, and we focus on safety, liquidity, and then return. We've also financed in the State Treasurer's Office about $8 billion of new investments in job-creating public infrastructure around the state. Roads, bridges, school buildings, university buildings, parks and water systems, housing, a number of things that are really to the benefit of the state. We've also refinanced another $4 billion of existing debt at lower interest rates by figuring out how to use the competitive market pressures to squeeze lower interest rates out of Wall Street. In the process, we've saved $1.4 billion in interest costs for the taxpayers of Washington. And that savings helped us finance the jobs bill that we passed last session that's going to provide thousands of additional jobs for Washington construction workers. Now, the other thing that I do as treasurer is I sit on the State Finance Committee, or sit on the Washington Investment Board. And the Washington State Investment Board, which George Maston serves on there with me, invests all of our pension funds in the state. And I want to tell you that in the last few years, that fund has recovered almost all the value lost during the 2008-2009 recession, making it one of the highest performing pension funds in the country, and making Washington's public pension system one of the best funded. We are, I believe, fourth best funded, according to independent researchers. Now, let me speak to my general concern about the notion of a state bank. As I mentioned before, our focus in the Treasurer's Office in managing the Treasury, which today stands at about $3.5 billion, our focus is to make sure, first of all, that that money, those tax dollars, are safe. And second, that they are liquid. That means I can get access to them to spend them if we had an emergency tomorrow, or for some reason we had a catastrophe and revenue stopped coming in. We would still have the money there to spend. And third, and only after we've addressed safety and liquidity, we reach for return to get a higher return on our investments. And again, when we invest those monies, we invest them in guaranteed federal securities. So make sure that the money gets paid back. I want to emphasize how we do this. The money comes in, we use a contract with Bank of America to collect the money. That money, we look at that money in the morning. We have 6 people that get to my office at 5 o'clock in the morning before the markets open. They drain that account and they use all that money to invest in federal securities. At the end of the day, some funds may come in after my employees go home, but that's the stuff that begins to collect overnight and is there in the morning. So we end up with a balance. Last time I looked at our balance in Bank of America, it was running in a $1 to $3 million range. But we run hundreds of billions of dollars through this account. We have to have a way to collect all the money, but we control the money and we manage it and we invest it just like a bank would. Now, a bank invests the money based on what they think when their depositors are going to need it. My concern about the concept of a state bank is that we don't have enough money to lend out because we need periodically all of our cash for paying our bills. Now, I know that, hold on just a second. You can go on the web and see something on the website, one of the charts that shows you the balances in the state treasury. And it looks something like this. It's pretty hard to read from back there, but if you look at this, it looks like there's almost always at least $2 billion in the state treasury. But you have to look very carefully at what we're measuring. It says Treasury and Treasurer's Trust month-end book balances. Now, what does your checking account look like at the end or right after you get your paycheck? Or your retirement check? Or your Social Security check? It looks pretty good, right? That's what the state trust looks like. That's what the Treasury looks like. And this is the one that we publish on the web. We're happy to do that. This is really a good measure of the state's liquidity. This is how much money we have flowing through our accounts on a monthly basis, and that's what we use to demonstrate to the public what our liquidity looks like. But at the same time, it does not measure what the balance is throughout the month. And of course, the balance in your checking account gets much lower as you go through the month, right? And that's kind of what it can look like. Twice a year, we get down pretty close to what I would call our minimum balance on the checking account. And why do I have a minimum balance on the checking account? Minimum balance is there because the state's cash balances can fluctuate by as much as $600 to $800 million in a single day. When that happens, I don't always know when those checks are going to get presented. I don't know when I'm going to have to be called upon to cash some of those. And so we need to have at least a certain level of deposits, cash available in our account so that we can draw on that and pay our bills. Some of you might remember a couple of years ago, I went public with a letter to the governor and the legislature saying we're in danger of running out of cash. I did that because I could look forward and say, given the pattern of expenditures, we think that we could be really close to that danger zone in months coming up, and that we might actually dip below it. And for that reason, I went to the legislature and said, you need to act, and you need to act promptly in order to get there. They did. We worked together, and we resolved the issue. But my concern about having a bank is that when you take money in and then lend it out for something, even a construction loan, which I think Daryl's going to talk about, construction loans for public works projects, those are typically 3 to 5 year loans. While we invest in 3 to 5 year securities in the Treasurer's office, those are securities that we can sell. We can sell them at any time. They're highly liquid. There's a market for them. There's not a market for infrastructure construction loans. Those are much more difficult to sell, and if you have to sell them quick, you're going to lose money. I don't want to lose money that's taxpayer money that's already been appropriated for expenditures in the state budget. One of the other concerns that I have about maintaining the kind of balance that we need in the state treasury is that $3.5 billion is pretty close to a month's expenditures. If you look at the Bank of North Dakota, which has been mentioned here, the Bank of North Dakota has about 10 months of expenditures in their treasury. They have a lot of cash. If I had that size of an equivalent treasury in Washington, I'd have about $30 billion in our treasury. Now, I don't know how many of you dealt with the legislature, but they're not likely to run that many surpluses over time in order to run up that kind of a balance. You have to give the Democrats a lobotomy so that they would stop spending money, and you have to tell the Republicans to give the Republicans a lobotomy so that they would stop cutting taxes. It wouldn't work. I don't see it happening in the short term. We had a $6 billion balance in the Treasury 3 months before I took office. It dropped to about $3 billion in that 3-month time period. So we need funds there really as a cushion against the immediate downturn in our revenues. Now, I want to just mention a piece that Bob talked about in terms of getting a long-term stream of revenue. One of the constitutional challenges about the proposal that he's made in the past is that earnings by this bank would be retained and spent on future activities of the bank. In Washington, that runs contrary also to the Constitution. All funds that are expended that come into the state have to be appropriated. and that would run afoul of that constitutional requirement. My concern is that when you look at the returns that the Bank of America earns, or excuse me, the Bank of North Dakota earns, if you look at the returns that we earn in our treasury, I think we do a better job earning a return and a revenue stream for the state of Washington. So I look forward to further conversation. Be happy to talk further.